Welcome. Today's video I never really planned on making. I'm not a very big fan of Jeffree Star. I never have been. But with how entangled he's gotten in the Davi investigation, I figured just time to talk about him a little bit. So I'm going to start this off by talking about his interview with Hansen. Now this interview started off very bad. It started off on a bad foot and never got better. Chris started it off by saying, "Oh, this is going to be the most scrutinized event on YouTube," and that he's just a good listener, so he's just going to let Jeffree talk unhindered. What a great guy, right? Until you realize that he just let Jeffree deflect everything. He let Jeffree control the entire conversation. And he almost led Jeffree in points. Like if Jeffree started to repeat things or would get a little bit off time, or Chris would just, nudge him back on path. That was pretty much the only input you got from Chris the entire interview. And I mean, I already didn't have much faith in this interview, especially after how poorly Chris handled the Onision investigation and completely destroyed it. I understand why people still follow him and still hold him to such high esteem. He really doesn't deserve it. But back to Jeffree, one of the big things that he addressed in the interview was the tweets from 2010. And again, he just deflected them and said, "Oh, he's just dramatic sometimes." Which, I mean, to me, just sounds like a fancy way of "I'm full of shit." Or he's just trying to make himself look better, like he did when he said he didn't do drugs or drink. And then, cue the montages of tweets and videos and pictures of him drinking and holding bottles and saying that he's wasted, which he later deflects again on the Mom's Basement podcast by saying, "Oh yeah, I used to lie about that." Well, why this is where I get really mad about this, because he lies about all this and then gets mad at people for not knowing that he's lying. Like, it makes no sense to me. I think he's just full of shit all the time, and he just can't help but lie. I honestly think that he just can't help himself but to lie. He then mentions that, he didn't bring his fans around Davi, so, and he's not responsible for his fans or, what they do or who they associate with. And while I do agree that he's not responsible for his fans, he does have a responsibility to them, to use his fame correctly and not, tour with someone he said he saw doing illegal things. Like, I can speak from experience. It is fairly easy to meet band members at this style of show. I have been to a lot of metalcore, punk, hardcore, metal, like you name it. I've been to a lot of shows. And they're usually at small venues, so it can be super easy to meet these guys. Especially for a guy like Davi that wants to meet people. He wants to use his fame. And he does. And Jeffree Star toured with him knowing this. That's what people are mad about. The thing that really bugged me about this was how he painted the entire Warped Tour scene as this disgusting group of like sexual deviants and pedophiles and just gross people all around. And I mean, I'm not denying that the music industry has shitty people, like any industry. Look at the movie industry with Harvey Weinstein and everything. But I mean, I can see why Jeffree might think so, because he surrounded himself with some gross people. He was friends with ex Lost Prophet singer Ian Watkins, who was arrested for things so disgusting I don't want to say them out loud on camera. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the scene is the scummiest place on the planet. But at this point, it does just feel like Jeffree had shitty friends. Because shitty people are friends with shitty people. And they destroy everything in their shitty path. Before I talk about the Mom's Podcast a little bit more in depth, I do want to say that it took me a few tries to get through. Between Jeffree's arrogance and Keemstar being, well, Keemstar, it was a really hard listen. The only saving grace in the entire interview was Colossal is crazy. That being said, one thing that really bugged me was that Jeffree said that nobody has tried to reach out to him. When I've seen I've seen Repzilla say a few times that he has, and I believe a couple. I know that I've heard a few people say that they've tried to contact Jeffree Star with no response. And I mean, a lot of people talking about this are blocked by Jeffree Star. So how can they get in? You know what I'm saying? He frames it as so manipulative, saying that, oh, these drama channels just want to paint their own narrative, when he's the one painting a narrative. Most drama channels and commentary channels talking about this are talking about public information or digging and finding new information, like by interviewing people and stuff. That he, woke up at the beginning of the week with, people demonizing him and blaming him and mad at him for something that an old friend did. When that's not why people are mad. People are mad because there's clearly a pattern of making accusations when convenient and then dropping everything and pretending like it never happened as soon as the drama blows over. He gets mad at anyone who points this out. And he continues to just push all the blame, the commentary channels are focusing on the wrong thing, And Keemstar obviously just lets him because he doesn't like the commentary community. He has made that very clear that he will side with anyone as long as it's against the commentary community. The only decent part in the entire podcast was the fact that Colossal is crazy actually, asked questions and pressed things. And he didn't even... I learned later that I don't think he even knew anything about the entire situation going in. So even going in blind, he asked better questions than people that know the situation. The problem was it almost felt like he kept getting pushed out and by FaZe Banks and Keemstar. And it felt like anytime he tried to press anything, it felt like he would get almost drowned out by the others. And no one would really let him properly press, I guess. And then it felt like FaZe and Keemstar were constantly almost defending Jeffree, which I don't understand why people need to feel the need to defend Jeffree. He is kind of proven over the last few years alone that he is a scummy person. Let alone all the stuff that we don't know he did, like in his Warped Tour scene days. After Colossal had asked Jeffree about the tweets, that's kind of where I had to keep coming back to it. I had to keep pausing and coming back to it and after I cooled down, but he kept saying that, oh well, those tweets were for someone that he was touring with that said that they saw something, and he never answers two main questions that really are the only questions that need to be answered about that. Why put "we" in the tweet? That insinuates that Jeffree was part of it, that Jeffree saw it as well. 2, why tweet it at all? If he didn't see anything, why tweet it at all? It doesn't make any sense. And all he does is just deflect it and move it really fast back to drama and Terry channels, blaming him for what Davi did, and that's not what's happening. The whole podcast can pretty much be boiled down to Jeffree pretending that the drama and commentary communities blame him for what Davi did, when that's not what's happening. People just want him to stop lying about things that could hurt or help a very serious case about a child predator. People just want him to stop trying to save his own ass for once. People just want him to answer the one question they had. Why did he work with him after calling him out? That was the question. That was the main question people had for him, and he refuses to answer it truthfully. A couple different ways at this point. He's either so arrogant that he actually believes that people blame him for Davi's actions. He's using his master manipulation skills to get out of this as fast as possible with as little damage as possible. Or he's actually just that stupid. I mean, personally, I think it's all of the above. But maybe you let me know about that, because I think that's where I'm going to end the video. I can't talk about this guy anymore. It makes me angry. But thank you for watching. This is hopefully the only video I have to make on Jeffree Star, but I guess only time will tell. Anyways, leave a like if you liked, dislike if you didn't. Subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you next time.